thank you so much for joining us today.
First of all, I extend my greetings to you, your association, and all your music lovers and students of music who are joining us. My father would say, never think that you are a guru. You are a student always, because you are learning while teaching somebody, you are relearning what you have learned before. So, this is the approach towards music learning in our family. And when my father was trained by Paluskarji, it was a very methodical training. Paluskarji would insist on Omkar sadhana. Omkar sadhana, nowadays you hear everybody talking about Omkar sadhana. What it really is, that you have to learn to sing the notes pinpoint. We hear people singing oh, oh. No need. Because if you want to reach Sa is already there. Go to him directly. That note is waiting for you. Oh, that has to be the direct approach. And that precision of hitting the note right at the center is the sadhana. So you see, these were the methods that Panditji used. And Panditji made them do the notations first. Because it is said, I have read it somewhere, that when Paluskarji was allowed to go uh, on his concert tour by his guru, he went to Patiala. And while there, he was doing his riyaz. One barber of the rich person with whom he was staying, he was standing at the doors of the room where he was practicing. So the barber was listening to him. So he said, what are you listening to? He said, I'm thinking that you should be knowing what you are singing. He said, of course, I'm singing Rag Yaman. He said, no, but what you are singing is Abba Gunana Kijiye. Do you know what the notes are? Poluskoti said, well, I can tell you. He said, no, tell me right away. Ga ni re ga pa re ga re sa za ga re ga ga. Is it so? Paluskarji was taken aback. And he said, if I have to think as to what I'm singing and then explain it, there must be something wrong. And then he was inspired to take up doing the notations, learning the notations in the detail, and going to the theoretical part of the raga. He left all his concerts and he went to Banaras, he went to Mathura, he went to the Pandits, he went to look for so many granthas and scriptures and all that. So then he formulated a you know, a schedule of learning music as to how you should master the notes first. And he developed the method of learning music in his Vidyalaya. The syllabus that he formulated is considered to be the best. Because unless you control the notes, unless you have a full control on your thinking, you cannot just sing randomly. You cannot say, I don't know what I sang. It's like you speak, but you don't know how to write it. I am going. I, A-M, G-O-I-N-G is I am going. You can't say I am going, but I can't write it. So he said, you have to be responsible for everything that you do concerning music. And this sense of responsibility was inculcated in the learning of all the students that he taught in the Vidyalaya. So this is the method that my father also initiated in us. And I was actually accidentally made to learn formally because around the age of 3.5, I would sit in my father's lap and I could repeat all that he could teach to his students. Like even the big ragas and big compositions like Hey Bare Saiya and Attara Sugandh and Basanti Kedar, Basanti Kannada and all those things. But I would just repeat it because I was sitting there all the day and I would be in his lap all time. Even sleeping in his lap was my routine. I wouldn't leave him for a second. And so I used to learn whatever he used to teach to other students. But to learn something responsibly came to me at the age of 5 or 6. Due to some other student who was much younger, he wanted her to have some company because if she made a mistake, she would keep quiet. Then she had to see that somebody else is also making a mistake. So it's not a something outlandish that she is doing. So to make mistakes, I was allowed to sit with her. I was made to sit with her, and I started learning formally. So learning the notations first, and it was notations, sargam and tal. Both the things have to be learned simultaneously at the same time. ताल बाद में सिखाएंगे. No, nothing later. No, tal has to be there. You utter something and there has to be some time limit, time unit attached to that. And that sense has to be perfected day by day, day by day, day by day. So the sense of lay is firmly there inside you when you sing. You are never without lay or any sense of timing when you are singing. He said every action is governed by time. So how can music be like, I can learn the tal later? No. जहां म्यूजिक है वहां ताल है. जहां कोई भी एक्शन है, there has to be some time unit attached to that. So he would teach us the tal also at the same time. So Dugun Chaugun and everything came very naturally and very easily to us because the first sense of lay was inculcated right at the beginning. So sargams, alankars, paltas. Alankars were taught first because you have to know how you go up and down, what is going up and what is coming down, and abstract designs. Designs that you have to create in mind. You have to work on it. There is some sense of designing and timing, and some structure has to be constructed out of the notes. That sense is developed at that very initial stages. He would teach us the rags with bandishes. Bandish was never taught without sargam. First, you have to learn the sargam with tal, and then you have to repeat the words so that you know what I'm singing. Abagunana, the ni re ga pa. I have to know that it is the ni re ga pa. It cannot be any other note. So this sense was firmly there. But I'm lucky in a way that I could not by heart things as many people do. I remember one incident. I must have been something like 7 or 8 years old, and I was asked to sing on a small children's program on All India Radio way back in 1958, 57, 58. And my father was going out for a concert tour, and the wire from All India Radio came that your ward has been booked for the program next Saturday and she has to perform. My father told my mother, now you have to get her prepared and set something for 5 minutes in the afternoon ragas because it is at 5 o'clock. So my mother asked me, what ragas do you know? I said, the Bhimpalas. She said, okay. My father said, Biraja me dhoom machayo sham, all with alap and tans. And he told my mother, see that she sings it for 5 minutes, set it up. My mother made me sing it from Monday to Friday. Saturday was the D day. And those were the days of direct broadcast. There was no recording facility at the All India Radio. So the announcer asked me, Beta, what will you sing just now? I said, I'm going to sing Rag Kedar. My mother got a shock. My father, when he was listening to the program somewhere outside Mumbai, he said, "Oh my God, did she forget that she has prepared Bhimpalasi?" But I was so bored with that Bhimpalasi, singing it all the week. I said, "No way." I changed it at the last time. But I could pull through for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I made my own alaps, I made my own dance, and I could sing it. So my father, he always encouraged me to sing my own music. He made me construct my own alaps, my own tans, my own bowls. And this is the same way I teach my students also. I show them the way how they can do it. I show them the way how the rag goes. I show them the way how the theory of the rag has to be maintained, how the theoretical parts, Vadi, Samvadi, and all those things have to be maintained. But your own imagination should work. And this is the way I was taught by my father. And luckily, Gulubai Jasdanwala ji also would do the same thing. He would never dictate me to do ये इसको रिसाइट करो, इसको बाय हार्ट करो, इसको ये करो, इसको वो करो. देखो बाबा ये ऐसा जाता है. This is the way it goes. And when father also was learning from Paluskar ji was very particular about the development of rag and Pakka Gwalior type. But when my father changed over to Bhurji Khan Sahab, he became the Gandaban Shagird of Bhurji Khan Sahab because of Alladia Khan Sahab's one condition. So he said, you can be a Gandaban Shagird of Bhurji Khan Sahab. We'll see later on. I know that you want to learn from me, but we'll see it. So my father became the Gandaban Shagird of Bhurji Khan Sahab in 1935-36. And later on, Bhurji Khan Sahab, because of his health problems, had to shift to Kolhapur. And Alladia Khan Sahab was in Bombay. So Alladia Khan Sahab took over and he started teaching my father. But luckily, the Omkar Sadhana, the Avaz Sadhana was the same with Alladia Khan Sahab Parampara also. In Jaipur Parampara also, pehle your Avaz, your voice, the main instrument has to be trained. It is never so that you come with whatever kind of voice you have and you are made to do the paltas and bandishes of this rag. No, because this you can, if you have read the biography of Kesarbai Kelkarji, so she was trained for 18 hours a day because her voice was not capable of picking up the style, the Gharana style of Allah Khan Sahib. She used to do the riyaz 18 hours a day. So, pehle awaz, you see, it's like you have to cut butter. You can't take a sword there. And you have to go to the war front. You can't take a butter knife. So you have to be prepared, well prepared. Your voice has to have that kind of wazan, that kind of, stress and the power and the volume and the throw in your voice that the Gharana Gaiki needs. So all these things, they are very important in any kind of training, in any Gharana training. These things are very important because you have to make the voice, the instrument, first worthy of the later on the development that you are expected to do in the raga patterns and all. So I was also trained the same way, although didn't need to study 18 hours or 20 hours with my father because my house was very small and I used to listen to other people singing for 18 hours and I would hardly get a chance. But overall, my father paid a lot of attention to my singing. In many, many minute suggestions he would give me, but those suggestions were very important suggestions. And I was lucky to have him, definitely.
And how did that continue, that relationship, as you started your professional career? Was he someone behind you? What was his contribution, do you feel, to your career as you were developing? Was he someone you could refer back to all the time, who gave particular insights when you were facing difficulties? Or
Well, luckily, uh, it was word of mouth that that gave me a place in the people's eyes. ये लड़की अच्छी गाती है. This girl is a very mature singer. Although I was very young at that time, I was very young at that time, but people would say ये लड़की बहुत mature गाती है. I didn't know what that maturity was, but my father always taught his students with the intention that that person is going to be a proper gavaya performing on the stage. Whether they did or not was a different thing. But his training, his training was totally focused on making a person a fully prepared gavaya on the stage. Because he was lucky to have been able to perform at a very young age. So performance is the best guru. Your guru is your guru. But whatever he teaches and you have to implement it and you have to uh, give it to people. When it comes to giving to people, it is the performance who is your guru. The performance teaches you what can make you reach out to the people, to touch the people's heart. What is it? And I think for me also, the performances taught me a lot. There were some times when I felt that I was not reaching the people. And it would be so that when I was young, many a times people, some other great musicians like Azmat Hussain Khan Saab and many people trained in the Agra Gharana and Gwalior Gharana. Uh, my father's friends from the Gandharva Mahavidyalaya like Bodas brothers and Narendra Vyasi and all, they would come and they would discuss things in, of course, nothing besides music. They would discuss in our house, and the house being so small that we were made to listen to all those things. And of course, that at that time, at that age, we were not able to understand it. But when it came to performance and when it came to actually performing and putting things in practice, all those things they came back to. All that was saturated in the brains, it all started making sense. I could relate to things. I could relate to certain sentences. And some of the everybody's experience as a performance at a performance is different. And they would discuss it all. They were so open. They were such good friends that they would come and open up. मामूदरा उस दिन ऐसा गाया था, पता नहीं उस राग में उस दिन वो कन्नड़ा में हमने गाते गाते ऐसा हो गया. क्या वो ऐसा हो सकता है? Is it okay that we take this phrase? If is it okay that we drop this phrase totally from this rag, but still can it be a Kannada? All these discussions, we were lucky to get these inputs, and these inputs helped me to whenever it came to performance, you know. So this has been a great source of inspiration and information for me.
So, so it's like an ongoing presence, like seeds were planted and they continue to grow through your career.
Till my father passed away in 1991, we were in that small house. So even at sometimes at night at 2 o'clock, my father would say, Shruti, and I mostly don't sleep for more than 1.5 hours. So I would be awake. So he'd say, are you awake? I said, yes. देखो बाबा, ये बंदिश तुमको बताया था. The antra of this bandish is like this. Do you know how it starts? And I would sit with him and he would give me that bandish. There are so many bandishes that I have learned at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning. They are not written down anywhere in my books, but they are here. They are here in my brains. I can remember them. So it was all the time music, music, and music. Sometimes I would be cooking and he would say, if you're going for a recording today, Shruti, what are you going to sing? I said, I'm going to sing Kamodnat. Do you have a bandish in that? I said, no, I don't have a drut bandish. The khyal is there, never a baju, but I don't have a drut bandish. I said, okay, we don't have a drut bandish in our Gharana, but I will tell you, I'll tell you a kamod ki bandish. I was making rotis, and he taught me that bandish. He sang it for me. My rotis were over. I had the food. I went to the recording studio. I recorded it. The bandish is still there in my mind. I have not forgotten it. So it was learning all the time, 24 hours a day.
And the learning, did it also, as you mentioned food just now, were there other metaphors or analogies that your father took to just try and describe music?
Yeah, he would say, I asked him whether Khasta would sing a rag like people nowadays. We feel we hear them singing, taking one rag and singing it for 1 hour, 1 hour 20 minutes, 1 hour 40 minutes. I said, did Khasa ever sing like that? He said, Shruti, it is a misconception that Khasa used to sing in a very, very Vilambit tal. It was Madha Vilambit. It was never dha, dhin. No, it would be Madhya Vilambit. He said, why? Because the person who's listening to you, the audience who's listening to you, they should be able to keep the timing with you. Otherwise, when you come to the sum, they also should arrive at the sum. Dha, din, This is the Madhya Vilambit line. Hello?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're able to keep it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he said Khasab's khyal would never extend 20-25 minutes because the ragas, the swarup of the raga, mostly he would sing complicated ragas, jod ragas. So when you are singing a jod rag, it's not that you are singing Basant Bahar, one avartan of Basant, the other avartan of Bahar. No, it is not done that. It is a combination of notes. Every alternate phrase is from the different rag. So you cannot just say कि अभी मुझे I have to pass time, I have to kill time. So I will just uh, make a makam of this note and I'll start singing around that. No, that will spoil the whole impression and the structure of that rag. So you can't kill time extending the notes unnecessarily. The, the rag has its own tempo. The rag has its own way, gait, चाल चलने का जो तरीका है, हर राग का अपना चाल चलने का तरीका है. Not every rag cannot be extended to 1 hour, 1 hour 20 minutes. You are being unfair to the rag if you are stretching it beyond its limit, because the seed of every rag has its own power of extension. Sometimes the rag is sampurna rag, like Yaman. It can extend to a little bit more time. But then if you start practicing all the things that you know in music about in that rag, उसका charm निकल जाता है, उसकी जान निकल जाती है. So you are not extracting juice of something and making it dry, total dry. You can't leave the rag totally dry. It has to be throbbing with life. You can't leave it dead after you have sung it. So he would say that every rag has its seed and the seed has to be recognized. How much power does it have of extension? Although the Jod ragas have many notes, जैसे बसंत बहार, but then how to extend that, how much to extend that rag to, has to be, it is your vivek, your discretion. It is your vivek, that works there.
Which
It
is
should not be devoid of surprises. And once it loses its surprises, it's gone.
And what you introduced this notion of a seed, that the ragas have a seed, an idea, and which feeds in well to the idea of Vistar and Bharhat, of growing, and Upaj that comes from that seed.
You see, we have the Vata Vriksha, Bargat tree, banyan tree. How big is the seed? The seed is so small, but the tree lives on. And a coconut. It's quite a big seed. It's big itself, but it's only one stem, and it has its own limit. It doesn't have branches. It doesn't extend to branches. So every rag has to have, it has its own power, its own capacity to extend and develop. You can't, extract its life juice and leave it dry. That's what he would tell me.
So, what were there any particular strategies that you learned to grow the seed creatively? Were there any pathways or any ways of thinking about that you came?
You have to first see when you're learning a bandish, a composition. Firstly, he would make me, even my Guruji, Jasdanwala Sahab, he would appreciate if I would learn it in his first edition of singing. He would sing it once for me, and I had to repeat it. If I was good at doing it. He said, "Ah, chaba, barabar, go, go." He will not repeat it. Once it so happened, I had learned, as a child, I had learned Basanti Kannada long time ago. But when Guru Bhaiji again took up this rag, the notation of one of the words in the antara was slightly different. And he had taught me one Sunday evening. And the next Sunday he said, "Chalo Baba, nikalo Basanti Kannada." I came to that word and I stopped. He said, "Kya hua?" I said, I have a little bit of problem. Can you please sing it for me again?" He looked at me like this. My father would be sitting there next to him. "Dekho Vaman Rao, kya zamana hai?" He said, "It happened to me with the same rag with Allah Dia Khan Sahab. When he was learning from Khan Sahab was quite old at that time, beyond 85. And he said Khan Sahab was leaning on a takia with another takia under his feet. And I was singing this bandish. And at some point, I got confused and I asked him, "Miyaji, can you sing it again for me?" Miyaji became all red and purple. Miyaji was very angry with me. He said, "Ah, क्या समझ के रखा है? What do you think? Am I a servant of yours? Am I a slave? Is this my age to repeat it again and again for you? If you have to learn it once I sing. जाओ पैसे वालों का काम नहीं है." My Guruji was very rich person. ऐसा करना है तो जाओ पैसे वालों का काम नहीं है. He said, I literally washed his feet with my tears. And I said, I'm so sorry. I will not ever make you sing it twice. But please clear this confusion. I'm stuck here. Acha, acha, chalo, suno. So, Vamandana, this is how it happened. I said, I'm so sorry. I learned it from my father once, many years ago. And this is after a long that I'm learning this from you. So I'm so sorry, Guruji. He said, nahi, koi baat nahi, koi baat nahi. But they were very particular about the structure of the bandish. You have no right to change the structure of the bandish once it is taught to you and the way you are taught. You are no one to change it. You have no right. And he would say, Baba, I have given you the map of the rag. मैंने बंदिश तुमको दिया है, ये तुम्हारा राग का नक्शा है, अब इसको खोल के देखो. Like a small child, you have to put the pieces of mechano together to make it whole again. Dismantle it. राग को डिसमेंटल करो, बंदिश को डिसमेंटल करो, देखो कहां से क्या जाता है. See how it goes from this note to that note. If there are two ragas, see where this one raga ends and the other one starts. He said bandish is the map you have to follow. And that's why you must remember that in the old days, many khasabs in the old days अपनी बंदिशें गिरवी रखते थे. If they wanted money, they would give the bandish to the saukar and take money, and would never sing the bandish until they repaid the money. As a dowry to the son-in-law, they would give the bandish. They would give the ragas. They were not allowed to sing the ragas again. This was the importance of bandish for those people. ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई यहाँ से आते जाते बंदिश उठाया और गा लिया. I heard it from somebody and this is how much I've got it and I'm going to sing it now. No, this was not done. You have to be properly trained in that bandish and then you can sing it. Because if you don't know the way, how to go and where to go, you will not be able to expand the rag. Uska delineation jo hai, uske there are some methods and the methods are hidden in the bandish. And that is why he would make me sing the bandish again and again. He would also do one thing, which I also practice with my students. Recite the bandish in prose. एरी आली पिया बिना सखी एरी आली पिया बिना सखी कलन परत मोहे घड़ी पल छिन छिन. Now, if you want to make bowl, if you don't remember the bowls, how will you make the bowl alap? How will you make the bowl tan? Even sometimes I've seen people, if I ask them the words of the particular bandish, this is the word. This is the word. Unless they sing it, they cannot remember the words. This should not be the case. You should recite the poem as a prose, as a full sentence, because it has a meaning. It does have a meaning. And when you are making a bol tan or bol alap, the sentence has to be complete. It has to make sense. Many times, only a few words are taken from the bandish and bol tan and bol alaps are done. Sometimes they are mercilessly cut apart. And, that is not done. I've heard my Guruji making bol alaps and bol tans. Every time he would make a new one, he would think that this is the bandish. This is the new bandish. This is the bandish. It would be so perfectly woven in the tal. It was never devoid of the tal units, matra units. So that binding of tal, lay and bols with the raga composition, it was very important. So it was all, I was made to sing, do that. I was made to do that.
How did you find that evolved over your career, the ability to take something and just keep expanding it? And following on from that, the idea that the bandish is a seed idea that's embedded within the seed idea of the rag. And so how would you advise us to think about the fixed things in a rag, like the bandish, that you can't change, but then the idea that becomes a seed idea to expand the rag as well?
You see, there are certain compositions, certain swara sangatis See, the Bandish in Tilak Kamod, very favorite of Allah Khan Sahib, Sur Sangata Raga Vidya Sangeet Praman, Jo Kant Kara Dikhave, Vako Janiye Guni Gyani. This is a secret of music activity. What is a rag? Sur Sangat is rag. Otherwise, we have only 7 notes with 5 other shades of it. The whole world, universe of music is constructed by the 7 notes. So how is it done? It's like a kaleidoscope, limited number of glass, but one small touch changes the design. It is the same thing with rag. Sura Sangata Raga Vidya. Rag Vidya. It is not only said rag, Rag Vidya. When Allah Khan Sahib was very, very young and getting popular because of his complex tans and fast moving, you know, tans, and people would be easily impressed by his singing. Once went to meet his Nanaji. His Nanaji said, I have heard about you. You are getting very popular. But beta, come to me, stay with me for some time. What about Raga Vidya? Raga Vidya is the Bilampat. The Bilampat, the Alap, the delineation of the Rag in slow motion. Tans is not Rag. Tan is not Rag. Tan is some chamatkar. Some miracles that you perform for people when they think it is impossible. ये कैसे हो गया? ये कैसे हो गया? हाँ, mind. He came from this note. See how he is mixing the notes, how he is uh, uh, making these complex movements in this rag. But what proper rag is, it is the Raga Vidya. What is Raga Vidya? Bilampat is the Raga Vidya. My Guruji would always say, my voice also was very, very fast moving at that time when I was young, when I was learning from him in the initial stages when I was 16, 18 years old. बाबा कहाँ जा रहे हो? Where are you going? कहाँ जाना है बाबा? इतनी इतनी घाई क्यों है? कहाँ जाना है? अरे रुको भैया, अरे रुको, अरे भैया रुको. You would tell me, अरे भाई रुको ना. You would just आराप ही करो. राग कहाँ है? तुम्हारे तान में राग नहीं है. राग है बिलमपत में. One who can sing a proper bilampat, we say he has तालीम. तालीम दिखती है बिलमपत में. तान तो तुम्हारा करतूत है. तुम्हारे जितना प्रैक्टिस करो, जैसा करो, मैथमेटिकल जितना कॉम्बिनेशंस करो, इट्स ऑल परमिटेशन कॉम्बिनेशंस. उसके लिए कोई ज्यादा ये नहीं है. ये तुम्हारे गले की प्रैक्टिस के ऊपर है. मगर बिलमपत में राग का विस्तार करना, ये तालीम की बात है. एंड दिस इज वेयर it sort of administered the break on my singing. Today, if I listen to my recordings of early 70s and 80s, I myself feel that I'm like a small child, 3 or 4-year-old child, who sees the guests coming in the house. He pulls out all his toys, whether they are broken, the doll has no eyes, the monkey doesn't have a leg, but then he has to exhibit all that he has. Sometimes I feel, Arey Shruti, please, please, look, why are you so much in a hurry to give out everything? Today I can afford, I have learned to be selective in what to present and how to present. So this governor has to be administered. And this comes with performances. Because luckily, when I was young, now I feel very funny to say that when I was young, when I was in my 20s, say 50 years ago, there were very, very good critics, music critics in Mumbai, even in Delhi, Calcutta. I met some very hardcore music critics who were watching you like, the, the performer would miss a heartbeat. Are, he is there in the audience. Oh, he is there in the audience. You have to be singing responsibly. Once it so happened that I was performing in a concert. Uh, just before the concert, my tabla player had gone for a cup of tea, and I didn't have the time to do any riyaz in the green room, and which I normally don't do, because I like to go there and sit on the stage and decide what to sing. I don't prepare beforehand. So when he met me just before going on the stage in the wings, I told him, first I will sing regular teen tal, vilambit, and then the second rag will be in Ada Chautal. He said yes. I went to the stage. Hoon to jaiyo piya ke. I sang Jaunpuri. Definitely it has to be in teen tal, because that is the signature of Jaipur Gharana. And he, Dhin, Tira, Kita, Dhin. I looked at him and I showed him this. He understood it as, aha, ha, kya theka laga hai. He continued. I continued. I finished the whole Jaunpuri in Ada Chautar. The next Yamni Bilawal I sang in Teen Tal. My students literally fell on my feet immediately. Tai, you always tell us कि अगर ऐसा कुछ हो जाता है तो you have to see that you just pull it through. Don't make a tamasha on the stage. Tai, you showed us what you have to do. I said, if I preach and don't practice, you will not come to me next time. But the moment I reached home, my phone was always already ringing in the house. I opened the lock, I went home, and I picked up the phone. It was Mr. Mohan Narkani on the phone. Shruti, and I saw him looking at Mr. Sharat Sate and other musicians in the audience. What is going on? What is going on? I knew he was going to call me, but not so immediately. Immediately called me. Shruti, was there some communication gap between you and the tabla player? I have never heard John Puri Huto Jayo in Ada Chautal. I said, I had to do it. What could I do? He said, okay, fine, fine. But see, such music critics, they put you on the track. They made you aware of your responsibilities as a performer. And to have such good critics, you have to be lucky. You have to be lucky. And I had very, very good critics who at times guided me. Somewhere there who told me, when I was in the initial stages, I was very fond of dance. थोड़ा बोल आलाप कम हो गया, बोल आलाप ज्यादा होना चाहिए. And they would be candid about it. And my father never called them back to say, who are you to tell my daughter what to do? Or he didn't even call anybody to say, thank you, you wrote so nicely about my daughter. Never. He said, you have to take it all and learn your lessons. So this was the thing.
So if I can just maybe raise two topics. One is, you mentioned in the Vilambit exposition of the rag, this is where the real life and jaan of the rag comes. So that, would you be able to talk a little bit about the ucharan, or the approach to shrutis, or how the space between the notes, between the seven swars, you think about, and then is that related to voice production and sound production as well? Maybe if you could think about those two things.
When you are talking about Sura Sangat Raga Vidya, so Sura Sangat is multifaceted. It is not only Nire and Madha in Yaman. Nirega Madhani. This is not Yaman. This is not only Yaman. It has many other dimensions also. You have to make the rag full of, you see, I won't use the Ghisapita term bhav, ras. I'm going to make the music interesting, less monotonous. You have to sing it in such a way to make the notes interesting. Ga re ga ga re ga ga re da ni re ga. This is another thing. But ga re ga ni re ga. So these are, in between points to be touched. Even in Akar, in our Jaipur Gharana, Akar is very, very important. Ah, so I must know how I'm approaching that note. Ga, re, ma. So basically, you see, our masters in the old days were not only vocalists, they could play the bean also. Many of them played the bean. And the bean, when you go from one note to another note, the journey from one note to another note is never ga, de, ni, de, ga. No, it is a continuous journey. And that continuous journey reflects in your voice also. So this is how you make it interesting. Mere ga, re, ga, re, ga, ga. Same notes, but the picture changes, gives a different picture. This is how you have to delineate the rag. You have to look at the rag. And every time you have to try new things. Every time you have to try new things. Because new approaches help you to remain fresh with the rag. Otherwise, you'll be bored. After all, it is only Nerega Madhanisa.
So is it like if you're cooking a dish
Yes.
all the time, then you decided to put some song for something else in? Do you find you do that with the ucharan as well?
You see, my father would always say, Khawaiya so Gavaiya. Khawaiya so Gavaiya is not only one who eats is a good Gavaiya, one who knows what to eat and how to make it good food, he can become a good gavaiya, because the sense of proportion that you have to execute while cooking, that sense of proportion work can work wonders in music also. Do you know Kumar Kaka also was a very good cook? He used to make lovely achars. Kaka, have this achar. Kaka, have this achar. ये मैंने डला हुआ है. This the pleasure of rasa, not only the taste buds, but also the ras of emotions, ras of the raga. For all, you know, Paluskar ji, when the boys would have a break in their voice in puberty, he would make them sit in the class, and the rest of the time they were not allowed to practice or do the riyaz. They were made to go to the kitchen and help the Khan Sama there. My father was a very good cook. He taught me how to cook. I didn't know.
It seems to
So
be
this interest in making something good Music also is it's music machen, music machen. There is a song in German. It is music making. We are making music. And how to make music. It's just like making khana. Sense of proportion is very important.
There seems to be a theme. There's many musicians who are great cooks as well. Is that your experience as well?
I've heard that Allah Rakha Khan Sahab used to make wonderful biryani. And Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Sahab also would love biryani. And he was also good at cooking, I heard. So you have to develop that sense. Develop that sense. And then it works with even in painting also, you need a sense of proportion. Otherwise, the picture would be a failure.
In terms of sound production, then how does that fit in with the experimenting with the using the notes and expanding the level?
See, if people have heard Kesarbai ji, Pandit D.V. Paluskar, Pandit Paluskar's voice was such a divine voice. You hear it and it doesn't jar you. It doesn't hit you as a shrill voice. It soothes you. That soothing is all due to the Omkar sadhana he was made to do. Naturally, he had that quality of his voice, but his voice was opened up due to the Omkar sadhana that his father used to teach to the students. I think we can listen to a small piece of his music.
Sure.
Where he sings the upper notes.
Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen.
See, here, this is one thing that one has to pay attention. See, all his vowels are open. A, ba, mo, re, ram. He can take a tan, he can take an alap in a, o, a. I make my students practice this. Saregama padani sign akar, okar, ekar, ikar, ankar, ukar. Because the composition has all these vowels and they have to be opened up properly. You can't just chew on the words. Chewing on the words loses the effect. It's so easy. Aba more Rama. Your voice has to flow. Like what? Same with Kesar Bhai ji. Same with Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Sahab ji. We can play something for.
Which one would you like first? Kesabai ji, or
Yeah, Kesabai ji.
share the screen again. A bit slow.
Jaunpuri.
Yeah, here we go. So, where's this?
Here also, we see her doing the dance, but the pronunciation of the words, letters, to jai, even the word like jaiyo, she takes so easily. It has to be total control over the vowels. That is the lagav of notes. Sur लगाओ is very important. सुर का लगाव ये सीखने की बात है, और सुर का लगाव जो वर्ड्स के साथ जो होता है, तो जय is a heavy letter, but जय, so that the andolan of the जय, so you just have to put your heart in it. That's the best I can tell you. Because what that Badish also wants to say something, હું તો જઈયો કરહું સોરા સિંગાર. I'm putting on all the ornaments and making myself beautiful. For whom? For him. So all that and the longing. See how befitting the rag and the notes and the composition is. They complement each other's. And you also have to, when you are performing, you have to see that your compositions, what my father especially was very particular about, that girls, female students, should not be performing the compositions which can send awkward messages to the audience. When you are not of that age, he would choose the compositions in such a way that it will not be improper. So my Guruji also was very particular about that. ये बाबा बंदिश तुम सीख के रखो, मगर अभी इसको गाना नहीं है. So many compositions. अभी इसको गाना नहीं है. I didn't know why I cannot sing it. Today I understand why at that age I shouldn't have sung it. I should not sing it. So that's when you get through talim, when your gurus are like your father. Guru Bhaiji was almost like my father. He used to love me so much. He at times, once I remember, he used to go to Panvel for his farm to look after his horses, race horses, and all those things. So he would go on Saturday mornings. One Saturday at about 9 o'clock, I got a trunk call from Panvel. I got scared. I said, why a trunk call? Then he said, बाबा देखो मैं एक बंदिश मुझे याद आया है, वो तुम लिख के रखो. So he gave me that bandish. He wrote it down for me. And while coming back from Panvel, while before going home, he dropped in at my place. He taught me the bandish, and then he went home. So this is the lagan. This is the love and sense of commitment that he had for me. वामनराव की बेटी को ये सिखाना है, वामनराव की बेटी को वो सिखाना है, श्रुति को ये सिखाना है. He would always tell his brother, मेरा नाम करेगी, श्रुति करेगी. श्रुति सब गाएगी, जो मैं सिखाया श्रुति सब गाएगी. He had that confidence in me, and that is a big, big, big responsibility on your shoulders. When your guru has faith in you, it's too much of a responsibility. So, when he used to teach me for sur ka lagav, awaz ka lagav, the akar was very important, of course, first. But then the akar doesn't have to be ah. It should not be shrill to your ears. It should not be disproportionate. There has to be a rounded sense of roundness to that akar. It has to be a round feel of roundness. Like a marble, like marble, it has to have a smooth feel. It is solid, but for touch, it is cool and it is soothing. So your voice should be like that. This is what he would tell. And Kesar Baiji's voice was like that. It was fluid. It had akar all the way, and it never jarred you. It was never still. Ye आवाज का लगाव was very important.
You mentioned Bari Ghulam Ali Khan as well.
Ji, ji.
Should I play a little bit of?
Maybe later on, thoda sa.
Okay. So then I know we've got about half an hour left, and I just would like to leave some space for questions from other people as well.
Sure. No problem.
So I'd just like to ask a final question, or just introduce the subject of Gharana. And obviously it's been such an important part in your life, and the weight of Gharanas in Hindustani music, obviously they change over time. So I was wondering if you could just reflect a little bit on the influence of Gharana in your musical thinking, and how Gharana might be functioning today or not functioning today.
Basically, I was brought up in this Gharana. I grew up listening to the training of this Gharana. So I could never have a chance, or never have an inkling to deviate to some other style of singing other than Jaipur style. But my father made it a point to take me to listen to other people also. We would go for all-night concerts, and there I would listen. I have heard Salamat Ali, Nazakat Ali also, Niyaz Ahmad, Fayaz Ahmad also, Rampur Gharana also, and of course Hirabai ji, and even the light forms like Tumri Dadara of Kesar Bai ji and Rasulan Bai and Girija Devi ji. So all the other styles of singing, I was exposed to them. But that, in fact, in comparison, told me where my Gharana is. That made it easy for me to understand my Gharana. And Gharana is, whether you like the name or not, it's like a family. It has a tradition. हमारे घराने में ये नहीं होता. This, a father can tell his daughter, You can't marry a boy from that family because हमारे घराने में ये नहीं होता है. So it is the same thing. हमारे घराने में ये होता है because these are the basic uh, things that govern our lifestyle, that govern our music style. So these are the basic principles. If you want to do something else, first see that you understand your values, basic values of the Gharana first very well. Unless you digest them, you will not be able to even inculcate somebody else's style also. क्योंकि your basic principles of developing the rag, basic principles of tan, basic principles of dealing with the tal, how to come to the sum, how to balance the tal and bowl and other things in your घराना, ये पहले आप अगर अपने घराने में नहीं समझोगे तो बाकी के घराने में क्या हो रहा है, how will you understand? There has to be a dark person to call somebody a fair person. If there is no dark person, how can you call somebody a fair person? If there are only fair people, okay, they are there. But when the dark person comes, they know that he is something different and we are different from him. So the comparison or the trying to evaluate your own system, you need some other system. And all systems have their own values, their own beliefs, their faith in certain methods of developing. You cannot belittle some other system just because you are brought up in this system. In fact, you can appreciate what the other system is. So Gharanas, I think it's very important to have some basic pakka talim so that you can understand the other the style of development. Today, we come across many people who have learned from many different gharanas. See, singing a composition from other gharana is a different thing, and developing the gharana in that particular style is a different thing. I can sing a Gwalior ka Khyal, but if I'm developing it in the Jaipur style, it can be only borrowing a composition from that gharana and developing it in my own way. So I cannot say कि मैंने ग्वालियर का ख्याल गाया, ग्वालियर के तरीके से गाया ना, तरीका तो तालीम से आता है. बाबत और तरीका ये दोनों बात अलग है. What is the बाबत? What is the main thing? तो राग का जो मेन थिंग क्या होता है, वो जो मैप है राग का, वो मुझे किसने दिया है, वो उस बंदिश ने दिया है. वो बंदिश कहाँ से आई है, तो इट मस्ट हैव समथिंग ऑफ दैट घराना. तो वो उस घराने के तरीके से मैंने अगर उस बाबत को अगर निभाया है, देन आई कैन सी कि हाँ मैंने ग्वालियर का ख्याल गाया, मगर मैंने बोरो किया ग्वालियर से और गाया अपने तरीके से. ये हो सकता है. दिस इज व्हाट माय फीलिंग इज. बट ऑफ कोर्स आई डोंट क्रिटिसाइज एनीबडी फॉर दैट. I don't criticize anybody who likes to take the bandishes, anybody who likes to sing in the other Gharana style. I don't have any right to criticize anybody. But these things are done nowadays, and because everything is available now. पहले ज़माने में तो if you go to a guru, he would forbid you to even listen to anybody for at least 10 years. First 10 years, you have to first learn what I am telling you, what I am teaching you. उसको पहले आत्मसात कर लो, बाद में जाओ दूसरे को सुनने के लिए. ये पहले होता था, आज ये नहीं हो रहा है. Every new second you get somebody new singing and some new style of singing you are able to listen to right in your ears. So you can't escape it. You can't escape their influences also. It's happening. Maybe it is a change that we may come to accept in the course of time.
So do you see a future for Gharanas because of that? That the landscape.
In spite of that, people still want to retain their own values. They like to adhere to their basic trainings. like I do. I like to be called as a Jaipur Gharana person, and I like to develop the rag. I like to think in the way Jaipur people think. I like it. I'm committed to that. And those who are committed to a particular style of singing, a particular Gharana, they will keep going on.
What I'd like to do is open up for other questions, because I think we've run pretty much through the list of things that we want to discuss. Maybe just one more quick question. This is a little bit outside of the box in a sense, but do you have any thoughts of your own experience on how, and you mentioned a little bit about it before, how gender or social and cultural formations might affect musicians and musical careers? As a woman musician, have you faced any particular challenges that have stuck in your mind, or that have caused you to think in different ways?
Well, as I told you in the beginning, that luckily it was word of mouth that gave me the promotion as an artist. Not because I was a girl, but I was a product of the Jaipur Gharana and a new product. I was young, and according to the people, I was singing very mature. So, being a woman, no, there was no sort of unpleasant experiences or nothing of the sort. No.
So I'll invite people listening to post any questions they might have in the chat. I'm sure there's many questions. But Manish just completely ignored that and was going to ask anyway. So, so Manish, please.
No, well, Shruti, it's the most fascinating, very informative, and it was a really great talk. I really, just three questions, if I may ask. I saw that recently a documentary about Begum Akhtar, and you had quite a few sort of. There was some part of you. Can you tell me your sort of what I say? What was your interactions? What was your? Was there any sort of any anecdotes with her?
As I told you, my father would take me to many concerts, even as a child. So sleeping in his lap, I have heard Begamji since that age, you know. I have heard Begamji for nights together. And somehow, somewhere in my mind, I had the feeling that you should be able to sing like her. Her voice had the magic. You know, only Madhya Saptak she would deal in. She would never shout in the top octave or never go down to that lower octave. But whatever magic she had in that Madhya Saptak was so fascinating. Her utterances, using the words, I won't call it pura akar, but the opening of vowels and how she would bring out the meaning, even a person who doesn't understand Urdu in the proper sense of the word, he would get the meaning without understanding a single word of Hindi or Urdu. That power that she had in her has always fascinated me. And as I grew up loving her music. And there came a moment when many people have heard this incident many times over, but I have to tell you again. One day I got a call from Begamji herself, and I was shocked to hear that मैं बेगम अख्तर बोल रही हूँ. So she said, मैंने आपकी आवाज की बहुत तारीफ सुनी है, मैं आपकी आवाज सुनना चाहती हूँ. I said, okay, कल मैं अपना tabla player और इनको बुलाती हूँ. She said, nothing doing. Tomorrow I have to go to Lucknow. So today I am in Mumbai. I am going to bring my own accompanist with me, and I'm going to listen to you. She came with my Guruji. She came home, and it was pouring like mad in Mumbai. June rains, you know how it is. And she came to my place, and after listening to me, she asked me, "कभी दिल लगाया है?" It was so unnerving. Suddenly, गुगलू आ गया. And she said, नहीं नहीं, बात ये है कि खूब दिल लगाओ, खूब दिल लगाओ, दिल ही है, टूट जाएगा. और जितना टूटेगा उतना दर्द पैदा होगा, और जितना दर्द पैदा होगा आपकी आवाज में वो दर्द छलकेगा. फिर आप देखिए आपकी आवाज क्या कमाल करती है. No, that was the mantra that she gave me. Even as a child, you love your doll very much. But the moment it breaks, your heart breaks. You know how to care for that relationship. You know how to care for that. No, that's इतनी छोटी सी चीज है, प्लास्टिक की चीज है, मगर उससे भी दिल लगाना आप जानते हो. So to be able to commit yourself to something, to care for something, and to be loyal to it. तो ये तो सारी जिंदगी को लागू होता है. It applies to all facets of your life, and of course to music. And that was the mantra that she had given me that day. And she, that day, even if Lord Vishnu or Shri Krishna or Ram would have come and told me that Shruti मैं आया हूँ, I would have told him, भैया please wait for 5 minutes. बेगम जी अभी मेरे घर पे है. I would have told him to wait. It was that great an experience, you know. And I requested her, of course, hesitantly I put it through my Guruji. I would like to record if she can sing for me. And she did sing for me. She sang 2 Tumris for me. It was a great treasure for me. But, you know, I came across these experiences, one with Hirabai Badodekarji also. Once she was there in Gwalior for the Tansen festival. And she was there in the audience with Krishnarao Shankar Pandit ji, Kumar Gandharva ji, my father, and Hirabai Badodekar. They all were sitting in the audience. And after my concert was over, I went off the stage, and I was in the backyard of the pandal. There were a lot of people around me taking my autographs and talking to me and shaking hands with me. And Hira Baiji was standing in a corner with my father. She had to catch the afternoon train to go to Pune. And my father, he motioned to me, come, 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 come. But people wouldn't leave me. And I somehow broke the circle of the people around me, and I went to her. She said, Vamandra, I'm so happy to see that your daughter is surrounded by such music lovers of Gwalior, and she's going to be really good. And again, once I sang, I gave a concert on All India Radio, a night concert. After the concert was over, she made a call to the All India Radio after 11 o'clock in the night and took my number and called my father to say that your daughter sang the Bihagada so very well, and Vamandra, who is the composer of that Drut Bandish? My father said, it is my Bandish. Vamandra, बहुत अच्छा competition है और आपकी बेटी ने बहुत अच्छा गाया. See, ये लोग जो, they are stars themselves. They are like the sun and moon. But they had the large heart to appreciate me. जैसे एक बार किशोरी ताई ने और मोगो भाई जी ने कहा कि you are the Vamshasa Diva of Jaipur Gharana. You will carry the lamp of the Gharana further. We are quite sure of that. ये large-hearted people जो मुझे मिले हैं, I am very grateful to them that these people have given me these experiences. And of course, that again, that humbles me. And I realize that my responsibility keeps increasing with every such appreciation.
Wow. Can I ask a couple of more?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, so those were sort of your experiences in younger, well, not younger, but
No problem.
now you're a star. And I had you interviewed Hari Prasad ji, and it will be broadcast tonight. So at your age, what is your curiosity, and what new ways you're learning from these sort of interviews?
Actually, it's a great experience to interview any artist of this stature, because we have grown up seeing these people on stage performing, and at times we have shared the stage with them also for quite a few years now. But Hariji was telling me about his times when he started learning from Annapurna ji. He said he he was already busy with the film music and all that, but he realized that he needed a guru. You are a diamond. You have the worth in you, but you have to be cut properly, and these cuts have to be administered by the proper jeweler. These cuts make you precious and precious and precious and precious. So the person who gives these cuts to you is your guru. He said, busy to bahut tha, magar I knew that I had to learn. And I went to Annapurna ji. But by the time I would reach her home, it would be sometimes well after 1 o'clock in the night. And she would be awake at that time, waiting for him. She would give him food first, the mother that she was. Because Guru to maa bhi hota hai na. She would give him the food first, and then they would sit up for their music lessons. So what it teaches you is surrender. However great people may call you outside in the world, when you are in front of your guru, you have to surrender yourself. You have to realize that this is one place where you are nobody. Your ego has to be placed aside outside the room. It has to be outside the दहलीज. घर के बाहर रखना चाहिए. ईगो को बाहर रखो और गुरु के पास जाओ. गुरु जैसे बताएगा, जो बताएगा, आज इतना ही करना है तो ठीक है, आज इतना ही करना है. Only this phrase today. You are not going to ask the guru, okay, will you be able to give me the whole structure of the rag today? आज इतना ही राग मिलेगा. Because the guru knows, like a small baby, the mother knows how much to feed the baby today and how much to feed him after this period of time. The guru is the same thing. With the guru, it is the same thing. Guru has the judgment, how much you can digest, how much you can reproduce. उतना ही गुरु देता है. गुरु पे विश्वास नहीं है तो फिर किसी भी चीज पे विश्वास नहीं. My father had the same experience, My father, way back in 1931-32, he had become Pandit Vamanrao Sadolikar. And he became the Ganda Banshagir of Bhurji Khan Sahab. And Bhurji Khan Sahab made him do the Rag Nanda, Hey Bare Saiya. For about 2-3 months, my father used to repeat the same astai with the Hey Bare Saiya. अब ये जो है वो बुर्जी कासम ने ये कट्स जो बताए थे, these cuts, they had to be the same. ये 4 मात्रा ऐसे कट होगा, उसके आगे का 4 मात्रा ऐसा कट होगा, उसके आगे का 4 मात्रा ऐसा ही कट होगा. If you made a mistake, go back to Hey Bare Saiya. So my father repeated the Hey Bare Saiya astai for about 8 months. And one day he had tears in his eyes. So Burji Kasab, he smiled at him and said, what happened, Vamanrao? इतने में दिल हार बैठे. उन्होंने मराठी में पूछा, शस्त्र खाली ठेवली का? इतने में हार गए क्या? तो माय फादर सेड, नहीं, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि आपकी पसंद अभी तक आपको पसंद नहीं आया मेरा इतना मैं जो कर रहा हूँ, तो शायद ये गायकी मेरे लिए है नहीं। तो बोले अमन राव, ये इस गायकी का बेसिक प्रारूप है। दिस इज द बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ दिस गायकी ऑफ अल्लादिया खान साहब. Alladia Khan Sahab, I would like to clear one thing. Alladia Khan Sahab would, I just now I told you that the lay in which he used to sing was not never Ati Vilambit. It was Madha Vilambit. Ha, भिन भिन. तो ये जो उनकी लय थी, उसके अंदर there were sections and these sections very important. और ये सेक्शन को पालन करते हुए आलाप भी वैसे जाएगा और तान भी वैसा जाएगा. And Aladia Khan Sahab would follow that method. He had taught this method to Burji Khan Sahab, Nasiruddin Khan Sahab and Manji Khan Sahab. तो बुर्जी खान साहब said कि आपको मेरे से गाना सीखना है तो ये हमारे घराने का कायदा है, ये रूल है, इसके मुताबिक आलाप जाएगा, इसके मुताबिक बोल बनेगा, इसके मुताबिक आगे चलेगा. ये once you digest this, जब ये कंठगत हो जाएगा, तो जैसे अणुद्रुत लघु गुरु प्लुत ताल मूल धर्म राखिए सुअंशर सुध बानी गुनी ज्ञानी, ये जैसा सूर्य संगत का अंतरा जो कहता है, तो ताल के अणुद्रुत लघु गुरु प्लुत, ये जो सारे मूल जो उसके धर्म है, उसको समझ के ताल पहले कंठगत कर लो, सूर कंठगत कर लो, फिर सुअंशर बंदिश के अक्षर भी अच्छी तरह से कंठगत कर लो. वंस यू मास्टर ऑल दिस, then the गायकी is all yours. मगर ये गायकी इतनी आसान नहीं है, बिकॉज आपको इतने सालों में ऐसा गाने की कभी तरकीब नहीं बताई थी. ये जो तरकीब है, ये तरकीब आपको पहले अपने जहन में उतारनी होगी. You have to imbibe it, make it all yours, then only you can be a proper जयपुर घराने की तरीके से तुम गा सकते. So this is what I feel कि बाहर कितना भी पंडित हो, गुरु के सामने आप शिष्य हो, एंड यू शुड नेवर स्टॉप बीइंग अ शिष्य. जैसे मैंने कहा कि गाना सिखाते हो. माय मदर टोल्ड मी वंस, डोंट टेक योर गुरुशिप फॉर ग्रांटेड, यू डिजर्व योर गुरुशिप. इफ यू कैन मेक योर स्टूडेंट्स अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट म्यूजिक इज इन द प्रॉपर वे, देन यू कैन डिजर्व योर गुरुशिप. अदरवाइज गुरु तो कहने के लिए गुरु है, इसको तुमको डिजर्व करना पड़ेगा. तो ये these are the things that I have learned in my family. क्योंकि गुरु का जो महत्व है, the importance of guru in your life is manifold. He doesn't only teach you saregama padanisa, he gives you the principles of life also. उसके साथ आप स्टेज पे जाते हो. You don't only by heart the alap and tan and go on stage and repeat it all. No, ये recite नहीं करने का नहीं है. आप एक पूरा एक व्यक्ति बन के जाते हो, एक कलाकार बन के जाते हो. आपको तराश के, आपको अच्छे से पॉलिश करके भेजा जाता है. एंड दैट हरि जी की बातों में मुझे समझ में आया कि कितना गुरु की उनके ऊपर कृपा हुई, और कृपा पाने के लिए कितने बार उनको जाना पड़ा, कितने बार उनको विनती करना पड़ा, उसके बाद में उनको सिखाया. हर अच्छे गुरु ने यही किया है. आसानी से हाँ कल से आ जाओ क्लास शुरू करते हैं, ऐसा नहीं होता है. 2 बजे आओ, 5 बजे आओ, 8 बजे आओ, रात को 2 बजे आओ, आप वहां जाके खड़े हो जाओ, उनको अपनी शरणागत जाओ, तब आपको गुरु देता है. वही गुरु हरि जी के पास से मैंने सीखा.
There's one more. It's actually a request. So with this collective, Adrian and COVID, who is sitting next to Adrian, they done this website, which is fantastic, a resource as well. And you write a lot about music as well. So can there be an access, and can we use those articles on our website if Adrian agrees?
Well, I don't know if my writings are there and available. They are with me, and maybe if I get some technical help with somebody, I can post my articles, and from my side, I can tell you, I can always give you, no problem.
Thank you.
Otherwise, I know Shruti ji's got a program tonight, so we don't want to wear her out too much.
That's no problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
But it seems, I think everyone's just taking and absorbing everything. So on that note, then, maybe we can just give a vote of thanks and appreciation for this wonderful time that you shared with us. And there's fantastic stories. And, oh, there's John Bala.
I've enjoyed it very much, and I just think it's been a wonderful insight into the tradition that we all participate in.
Yes, thanks, John. That's wonderful. So I think what John just said, we share his sentiments as well, and it's been an absolute pleasure and a very rare pleasure for us to have this wonderful insight into your world of music and creativity. So thank you so much for all your time, and
you're welcome. Welcome.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste. So I'll sign off now, and I'll be in touch.